Welcome to the Galvanic Applied Sciences tutorial series. In this video we will explain the GUI Operation Guidelines. Start the 903 Analyzer software. The GUI is a Windows-based point-and-click interface. When the software is first opened, the analysis screen is the first page you see. The analysis window is designed for a quick glance into the current status of the analyzer. It employs automatic polling every 3 seconds and keeps data refreshed at all times. For that reason, configuration cannot be saved while in the analysis window. All command buttons are grayed out in this mode. Configuration can be changed, for example, on the archive page. Make sure you save data before you change log setup. It is important that the archive data is saved before any changes to the log setup are made, or all the previous data will be lost. New log setup will take effect only after you turn the analyzer power off and then back on. The software will tell you when to wait as it processes any data and shows the progress status on the bottom bar. The 903 GUI is designed to stay in sync with the analyzer at all times. The analyzer itself always acts as a primary data holder. The 903 GUI automatically refreshes the tabs when opened with the data from the analyzer. Therefore, if a change is made to any data inside a tab and you switch to another tab without first sending changes to the unit, all changes made in the previous tab will be lost. To prevent this from happening, use the temporary Write to Analyzer button. This button should be used every time you want to save changes you made to the tabs. Think of this button as a memory on your PC. As you go through the tabs and make the desired changes, this button allows you to store and view your analyzer configuration before you make a final decision. If you switch the power off to the analyzer or perform a reboot, the analyzer will revert to its original configuration and all changes will be lost. Changes will need to be permanently saved with the Permanent Configuration Write to Analyzer button. Think of this as a hard drive on your PC. When all desired changes have been made and saved to the analyzer with the temporary Write to Analyzer button, now it is the time to make them permanent. A command to the analyzer will be sent that will start the process of copying data from analyzer memory to the analyzer hard drive. This process takes about 30 seconds. At the top of the screen is a row of buttons. The buttons are grouped into 3 distinctive toolbars that the user can choose to show or hide using the View menu. There are also 2 fields at the right side. The first field tells the user how many streams the analyzer has. The second field tells the user what mode the GUI is in. It will contain 3 values: offline, which means the GUI is not connected to a 903, or read-only, which means the 903 is in read-only mode, or update, which means the 903 is in update mode. The Communicate toolbar contains the buttons that control the communications between the GUI and the 903, as well as allow the user to set the communications link parameters. Log On establishes a communication link between the GUI and the 903. Log Off disconnects the communication link between the GUI and the 903. Communication Settings allows the user to set up the communication options for the link between the GUI and the 903. Next is the Operation Toolbar, which contains several buttons that control various aspects of the operation of the 903 and the GUI. The Temporary Write to Analyzer button. Again, it writes any configuration changes in the active screen to the 903's volatile memory. The Permanent Configuration Write to Analyzer button writes any configuration changes in the GUI first to the volatile memory and then writes to non-volatile flash memory. Any changes the user wishes to be permanent and present if the analyzer is powered off must be written to flash, or the changes will be lost. Poll page once. Reads back all the data points on the current screen. Pushing this button allows the user to check and ensure any changes written to the analyzer have been accepted. Synchronized Time updates the onboard real-time clock in the 903 to the time and date set on the linked computer. Acknowledge all latches. Returns all latches that may have been triggered by alarms to their default configuration. Bypass alarms. Puts the analyzer into bypass mode, where events associated with alarms are ignored. When this button is depressed, the bypass mode is enabled. When this button is not depressed, bypass mode is disabled. Tape Advance forces the analyzer to run the motor and perform a calibration of the sensor block. Pressing this button is equivalent of cycling the power to the analyzer. The Upgrade Firmware button updates the analyzer with the latest firmware. The general toolbar contains buttons that allow the user to load and save configuration files, print configurations, and open the context selective help file. Open opens a saved 903 configuration file. Save current configuration saves current configuration to a file. If the configuration has been saved to a file previously, pressing this will overwrite the existing configuration file. Save configuration to a new file button saves current configuration to a new file with a file name of the user's choosing. Exit. Pressing this button will cause the 903 GUI to exit. It is advisable to log off the unit prior to exiting. At the top of the GUI window are 4 menus. The System menu contains one option, Exit, which causes the GUI to close. The View menu allows the user to decide which toolbars to display. Toolbars with a check mark beside them are displayed, while those without check marks are not displayed. Putting a check mark beside Upgrade window brings up the Upgrade window. The Others menu allows the user to configure certain aspects of the GUI. If Update mode is checked, the GUI is in Update mode. If unchecked, the GUI is in Read-Only mode. Selecting Change Password allows the user to change the password for the update mode. The original password must be entered and the new password entered twice. You can also choose to reboot the program. There's only one option under the Help menu, About. Pressing About will bring up a window that shows the version number of the GUI currently in use. This may be useful for troubleshooting. The GUI is a tab-driven system. Specific data and information is located on 17 tabs, which can be viewed and changed. Analysis allows the user to see the current status of the 903, including concentration readings and input and output status. Status gives the operator the current status of the analog outputs, relays, solenoids, analog inputs, discrete inputs, and what voltage input source is in use. Alarms allows the user to view all enabled system alarms. Archive allows the user to access the numerous archives that store live data, hourly and daily averages, as well as other user configurable archives. Events allows the user to access the event log, which keeps track of the configuration changes and situations the 903 has experienced. Global allows the user to change settings that affect the global operation of the 903, such as stream purge times. Streams allows the user to change specific settings to each stream. Normal, zero, reference, and calibration. Input dry allows the user to configure the 903's 4 discrete dry inputs. Inputs wet allows the user to configure the 903's 4 discrete wet inputs. Outputs allows the user to configure the behavior of the 903's relays and solenoids. Sequencer allows the user to configure the analyzer gas run event sequences in either automatic or manual or both. Ports allows the user to view the communications port settings of all the 903's communication ports. Modbus allows the user to configure Modbus lists, including the type of Modbus list and the data points that are outputted to Modbus. Analog inputs allows the user to configure the 4 analog inputs such as live pressure and temperature readings and related alarm set points. Timers allows the user to schedule conditional gas run operational requests on an hourly, daily, or weekly basis. Maintenance allows the user and service personnel to have greater control over the electronics board for testing analog outputs, relays, and solenoids. Factory is the only tab that is password protected. All the parameters on this tab are set in the factory and should only be changed by authorized personnel. This concludes the GUI Operation Guidelines tutorial.